time for Encyclopedia Brown Boy Detective by Donald J. Sobol. We're on the chapter called The Case of the Diamond Necklace. Looks very beautiful. So we'll see who took that. You hardly touched your soup, said Mrs. Brown. Something is wrong. I'm not hungry, said Chief Brown. He pushed his chair back from the dining room table. It's that Von Tweedle case, said Mrs. Brown. Now stop blaming yourself. What happened, Dad? Asked Encyclopedia. I wish I knew, answered his father. Last night I was at Mrs. Van Tweedle's yearly party for the community chest drive. I was guarding a diamond necklace. He drew a deep breath. The necklace was stolen right under my nose. Mrs. Van Tweedle must have been afraid it might be stolen, said Encyclopedia. Was that why she asked you to guard it? Chief Brown nodded. She received an unsigned letter last week. It told her to put $10,000 in cash behind the statue of George Washington in the park. If she refused to do this, her necklace would be stolen. Wow, exclaimed Encyclopedia. Is the necklace really worth $10,000? More, said his father. Want the facts? Encyclopedia closed his eyes and prepared for some hard thinking. Go ahead, Dad. Mrs. Van Tweedle planned to give the necklace away during the party, Chief Brown began. That is, she was going to sell it to the highest bidder at the stroke of midnight. The money was to go to the community chest. To show off the necklace, Mrs. Van Tweedle's old college roommate, Miss Stark, wore it at the party. At first, I didn't let Miss Stark out of my sight. Around 11 o'clock, Miss Stark said she felt ill. She went upstairs to the guest room. She said she wanted to rest a little while. I went into the room ahead of her. I wanted to make sure no one was there. Then I had her lock the door, and I stood guard in the hall. 10 minutes passed. Suddenly, I heard a scream. A few seconds later, 2 shots rang out. I called to Miss Stark. She didn't answer. I broke down the locked door. Miss Stark was lying on the bed in a faint. The necklace was gone from her neck. When she came to, she could tell me little. Everything had happened so quickly. She had heard nothing, and she had fainted before she could see the thief, she said. The thief must have gotten in and out by the window. 2 bullets were in the wall above the bed. Miss Stark was lucky that she wasn't killed. Encyclopedia's father finished speaking. A silence fell over the Browns' dining room. Then Encyclopedia asked one question. Was Miss Stark left alone in the room after you broke in? Chief Brown looked surprised at this question. He thought a bit before answering. Let me see. I was with her all the time. Mrs. Van Tweedle came up to the room as soon as she heard the racket. Then the doctor came. He took Miss Stark directly to the hospital. He never left her side. The hospital, said Mrs. Brown. The poor girl, she must have had a terrible scare. She was pretty badly shaken, said Chief Brown. The doctor ordered complete rest and quiet. She has to stay in the hospital until tomorrow. Good, said Encyclopedia, opening his eyes. There is no time to lose. Her room must be searched before she gets back. Search for what? Asked Chief Brown. For the necklace, said Encyclopedia, and the gun. Leroy, exclaimed Mrs. Brown. Do you think the thief would be so silly as to leave the necklace and the gun behind? She did, said Encyclopedia calmly. She had no choice. She? Gasped Chief Brown. Do you mean Miss Stark? What makes you think she did it? It's quite simple, said Encyclopedia. First, she tried to get $10,000 out of her old classmate by writing that letter. But the letter didn't work, Chief Brown said. Mrs. Van Tweedle hired me to guard the necklace. The letter only made it tougher for Miss Stark. She didn't think it would, Encyclopedia pointed out. She must have talked Mrs. Van Tweedle into letting her wear the necklace at the party. The whole idea sounds pretty weak to me, said Chief Brown. Think how fast Miss Stark would have had to work. She would have had to hide the necklace and the gun after she fired the 2 shots into the wall. She must have known I'd break down the door the instant I heard the gun go off in the room. She hid the necklace before she fired the shots, said Encyclopedia. Well, if you are right, the gun and the necklace are still in the room, said Chief Brown. I'll telephone one of my men to search it right away. An hour later, Officer Murphy called back. Mrs. Van Tweedle's guest room had been searched. The necklace and the gun had been found, hidden in a hat box on the closet shelf. The Browns had finished dinner. Encyclopedia was in the kitchen drying dishes for his mother when he heard the news. Miss Stark expects to leave the hospital tomorrow, a rich woman, said Encyclopedia. All she had to do, she thought, was to go back to the room and pick up the hat box with the gun and the necklace, said Chief Brown. She might have gotten away with it, said. And there's Encyclopedia doing dishes with his mom. Encyclopedia, but every crook makes one mistake. What was Miss Stark's mistake? What did she do that tipped Encyclopedia off? What do you think? I'll read this in just a minute. Are you ready? Miss Stark said that she didn't see or hear the thief, yet Chief Brown heard her scream, and a few seconds later, 2 shots rang out. Miss Stark's mistake was screaming before the shots were fired. If she had not seen or heard anyone, she would have had no reason to be frightened. Only after the shots had been fired would have she screamed. He is so tricky. Got it all figured out.